When we think about iconic watches, we think about watches that are relatively boring. They're often the starting point, they become a success, and then brands start to do something more fun with those watches. But typically, they are boring watches. And with that in mind, I feel like the watch we're going to look at today fits that category perfectly. It's never going to be an icon. It isn't an iconic watch. But I do feel like it should be far more popular, far more widely spoken about than it is. But I warn you, it is boring, but brilliant. Today we are checking out the Grand Seiko, I'm going to have to read this, the Grand Seiko SBGX261G. Someone needs, either Grand Seiko or someone within the community, someone needs to come up with a nickname for this watch. Like the Snowflake, it needs something like that. Maybe it's called the Plain Jane, I don't know. But as you can see, this is one of the most plain watches around, and it's a relatively new release. And me calling it plain is not a criticism in the slightest. I actually think, first off, I am in love. This is my favorite watch, and I've got hands on with thousands of watches, and without any unreal hype, this is still my favorite watch of all time. So with that in mind, me calling this plain isn't really a criticism, it's just an observation. I think it is far harder to create a good looking plain watch, a watch with very little detail on the dial. It's far harder to do that than it is to make a good looking complicated watch. To get a plain watch right is very hard, and that isn't just what Grand Seiko have got right here. The technology in this watch is phenomenal, and that's why I think this watch deserves more hype than it's getting. So the specs, we have a stainless steel case. It is 37mm wide, lug to lug is 44.6mm, it's 10mm thick, it has an annoying 19mm wide lugs and a brilliant 100m water resistance. Two things that need to be noted here, although it has annoying 19mm wide lugs, which is annoying because you're limited by which straps you can change onto this watch. However, barkandjack.com will be launching 19mm and 21mm watch straps in 4 weeks. Let's say 6 weeks. Give me 2 weeks to take photographs and get all that sorted. But the thing that needs to be noted is the fact that the case has holes on the side of it. I like that for two reasons. Firstly, it just looks cool. Secondly, it makes it so much easier when it comes to changing straps. Just pop the little spring bar tool in the side, job done. The other thing that needs to be noted here is there is no lume on this watch. But if you've owned a Grand Seiko and you've woken up in the middle of the night wearing a Grand Seiko, you will know that it doesn't really need lume. It just needs a tiny little bit of light because the Zaratsu polishing on the hour markers and on the hands reflects the tiniest bit of light, and so that kind of acts as lume. That being said, I would have preferred to have lume on this watch, but that's just how Grand Seiko does it. Nothing major stands out with those specifications. It's a decent size. 37mm for a non-bezeled or non-rotating bezeled watch is great. It's not oversized. The dial and crystal size will pretty much be the same as what you'd find on a normal dive watch with a rotating bezel. The lug-to-lug measurements is very versatile, will suit many wrists, and 10mm thick means it's going to be very cuffable, but it's also going to have enough presence on your wrist. The one thing that does stand out is the 100m water resistance. Nothing groundbreaking, I just like the fact that this very chilled out, is it sporty, is it dressy watch? This very versatile watch has 100m water resistance. This is one of those watches that could be your one watch collection. To be the watch that you spend all your money on and just enjoy for the rest of your life. It has that level of finishing, has that level of build quality, and it has a superb movement inside. The movement in this watch will be a bit of a dividing point for a lot of people. This is powered by Grand Seiko's 9F quartz movement. Now, before you write off the idea of it being quartz, let me tell you about this movement, because this is a true in-house movement. This movement is developed and manufactured by Grand Seiko. This isn't a subsidiary of a watch group creating movements and then handing it out to all the other subsidiaries, all the other watch brands under that watch group. This is legitimate. This is zero bullshit, and it is phenomenal. This particular movement is called the 9F62, and it is a thermocompensated quartz movement. One thing that throws off the accuracy of a quartz movement is temperature interfering with the movement. Later on, I'll go into detail how this combats that interference. It has a 3-year power reserve, and the accuracy is from -10 to +10 seconds a year. 10 seconds a year is just nuts. Now, many people will think that I'm being paid by Grand Seiko to be positive about this watch. I asked Grand Seiko if I could borrow this watch. I actually had never heard of it until I was hanging out in the Grand Seiko boutique in London, wanting to borrow some other watches, and then saw this, and this just blew my mind as to why this hasn't been shouted about more. Maybe not everyone likes boring watches like I do. But the point of that is, this video isn't, I don't take money from watch brands. That's the whole premise of this channel. That's kind of how I do things, and that's why I sell watch straps over at barkandjack.com. But this video isn't sponsored by Grand Seiko or barkandjack.com. I want to use this opportunity to tell you about the podcast that I do. It's called About Effing Time. We have 8 episodes out and probably about 6 or 7 live shows. Every other weekend we do a live stream on YouTube on Sunday evenings, and we're just about to record season 2. If you like watch podcasts, then just check out About Effing Time on your podcast app. If you want to watch the show with myself, Andrew McCutcheon from Time and Tide, and George Bamford from Bamford Watch Department. We disagree on a lot of things, but it's good fun. About Effing Time. Right, back to this kind of boring Grand Seiko, but gorgeous Grand Seiko. And this is why this Grand Seiko is amazing. You think about that movement. This is a thermocompensated quartz movement, and because heat and temperature disrupts the accuracy of a quartz movement, to combat that, the quartz movement needs to know what the ambient temperature is. The 9F quartz movement isn't just another cheapy quartz movement. This measures the ambient temperature 540 times a day, and then adjusts the movement accordingly. That's how obsessed this thing is with keeping accurate timing. But then it wants to display the timing accurately. Naturally, gravity pulls on a hand and stops it from landing on the second marker accurately. And so this has a backlash mechanism inside that prevents any unnecessary movement of the second hand and ensures that the second hand hits the second marker every single second. I too thought that quartz movements didn't have any soul, that they were just computers on your wrist, and that there was nothing kind of meaningful, nothing to be in awe of about the movement. And that's kind of why I like watchmaking, is because I'm in awe of the mechanics that goes on inside. But the 9F quartz movement has that as well. A watchmaker builds the 9F quartz movement. It has a gear train. That gear train is delicate in the same way as within a mechanical watch, because it needs lubrication and it is relatively delicate, but then you might also have to change a battery. They don't want people just messing about with the gear train within a Grand Seiko, so they put it in a super sealed cabin. This sealed container holds the gear train, prevents lubricants from drying up, but it also means that we can interact with the battery, change a battery without any worries of damaging the gear train. Now for the best part of this watch, we've got a good looking watch, in my opinion. I think it's a good looking watch. We have a technically brilliant movement inside. It's well made. I'm not a massive fan of the bracelet. I actually can't stand the Grand Seiko bracelets. So that's annoying. But the best part of this watch is it's £2,000. This whole package, this build quality, the finishing, the movement, the design, £2,000 for all of that. That is cheaper than a Black Bay 58. This, I think, will last you longer than a Black Bay 58. It's more timeless. It's more versatile. You could wear this as a wedding watch. You could throw a NATO strap on it and wear it down to the beach. This is a one watch can do everything watch. Exactly the same reason why I love my Explorer. It can do everything without a question. This also has quite a crappy bracelet, to be fair, but at least it tapers. I do enjoy watches that are under the radar, that only watch people will know what that watch is. There's something fun about that. And this watch perfectly fits within that category of being under the radar. Only watch geeks will understand how good this product is. What do you guys think? Am I just obsessed with the whole Explorer vibe? Am I just obsessed with the simplicity of a watch? Where are you still on the whole quartz movement side of things? Are you still in the lane of quartz doesn't have any soul, it doesn't do anything for me? Or are you in the lane of, I used to be in that lane, but I'm now in the lane of some people do quartz right. Grand Seiko are one of them. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like the style of this video, then hit the subscribe button down there and that little bell icon so you get notifications when I drop a new video. If you want to check out the podcast that I'm part of, it's called About Effing Time. I'll put a link in the description down below and the first comment. And if you're on Instagram, give me a follow at barkandjack. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.